With hash guest. Ah non, Salesforce guest. Yeah.
The airport, like I changed the cover. I thought it's all the below, but I realized thank you. One of my best friends is working here.
This is strange because no.
My friend told me that the online version is not working. They cannot. The online version is not working. Yeah.
Yeah, see. No. I got it because you're all in the waiting room. It's what's in the waiting room. Check with you.
I'm actually try again.
Yeah, I think that's probably
You want to enable the webcam, or they see the speaker.
you can enable that.
Just move the table a little bit forward to extending the table.
Yeah.
But they can see you.
Here it's not connected to. Yeah, I think that we're not getting the webcam.
Yeah, we make it so far with the hybrid. But it's good for the numbers. I agree with that. You guys join on it. Because then you can promote me as a panelist.
You can join. I don't know if I have the.
Otherwise, I can share my screen.
Mhm.
Oh, the Wi-Fi phone. Welcome back. I think I'm already a panelist. Fine.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm already.
I didn't know. I don't see you.
I'm actually the top. Like,
That's interesting. Why I don't see you? I see a little. I don't see you. Oh, now I see you.
Got 30.
More. Make co-host. Okay.
yeah.
And
No, we have 30.
are you? No, you're not connected already, right? If you could already connect, I will make you also co-host,
Oh,
just in case.
I hear the room a little bit too
Okay.
quiet.
So it's what I don't have to do but no.
Don't be shy. Come to the front as well. You're not in school.
Yeah.
You're like in the high school right now.
Yeah. You can come close. So we have everyone having.
Yes, the brave.
Yes.
The brave.
Brave ones in the first line. The Salesforce people, please just put your badges because people know who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
They need to go to the toilet. They really need to know. Otherwise, they will all ask me, and I'm only one person. So, Rick and Shores, I'm looking at you too. Where are your green thing? How do they know? Okay, so people, if you look at the back, those two guys in the back, they are Salesforce people also, but they are not wearing their green badge because they're hidden. So if you need to get out from the room, please, one of us, or the two of them, or I, we can open the door. That said, thanks everyone. We're starting the meeting today. Today, special occasion. This is Data Plus Women plus the Tableau user group here in the Netherlands. We don't have leaders from the Tableau user group because they got a bit stuck in life, but they asked us to welcome everyone.
It's basically a data for women meet.
They're watching you later and they are taking part. Just as none of the user group are here, I do the introduction of Data Plus Women, and then you can check in the website what the user group is, right? So Data Plus Women, that I'm one of the co-leads, is a network of women working in data, different types of things, roles, jobs. And one thing that we like to tell people, because a lot of people ask, but I'm a man, can I go to Data Plus Women? It's like, yes, we're not excluding anyone. It's just because usually we try to bring ladies to the spotlight to be the speakers, but everyone is super welcome. It's so welcome that our last t-shirt, it's Data Plus Women plus you. So people can understand that everyone is welcome. We are here, the chapter in the Netherlands. You will see the other ladies. Anna, that is also a speaker. Tim is here. Aline is here. Marise is not here today, but she's also part of the group. This is where you find us if you'd like to come to other events. We're in Splash, Twitter, and what is the name of this? Meetup, the person that did too many apps nowadays. And for everyone, just a little bit of housekeeping in person. If you need to get out of the room, as I mentioned, ask for one of us, the technical green badges in the back. They will be standing all the time since they're not to let you know who they are. So they're the two people standing in the back. We are here for helping you to go to the toilet and everything that you need to do outside this room. Phones for people that are here, please. Remember this period where we used it to have meetings in person, that we used it to put our phones on mute. It's back. And after, we are going to the cafe that is in the ground floor for the networking. So everyone is invited. So please, if you can, stay after so we can talk a little bit more. For people joining online, we will be checking the questions. So please feel free to drop questions there and to use the chat. That said, today's agenda, we will start with Anna, that will give an overview of the APIs. Then we will go to Merlin, that is right here, that will talk about how to play Mario using Tableau. Then we will have Kathleen and Preven doing an overview of some use case and how people use APIs. And as you see, full day here today, we'll be talking about Tableau APIs. So this is a bit what we call internally in Tableau, we call it the dev side of Tableau. So we'll understand a bit what you do with this, how it works. And for everyone that is here, everyone that is following online, we are planning a second session on APIs, but then hands-on. So for those of you that really would like to experiment a bit, we're planning to September. You don't need to know code. It's really API friendly, everyone friendly in reality. And to guarantee you that you don't need code, we have here Marlene and Anna that they're the ones preparing the sessions, and they said that no code knowledge is needed, right? So everyone is welcome to join. It will be September. We will send invites later. And that's it. So as we're already 5:10, I will let Anna start talking about everything about APIs, so everyone will know a little bit. So thanks everyone, and Anna, with you. Yeah, you just need to join my session now.
Yeah.
It was nice. Yes.
Cool. Lovely. Yeah, thank you everyone for coming. It's really nice to see so many people in the audience, and I hope you really enjoy the session. As Rachel said, it's intro session, so if you have never worked with developer tools, you don't know what API is, it's absolutely fine. We're going to go through this today. And do I start my video? Yes. I can't see my mouse. Sorry. You see, I know what API is, but I can't find my mouse. Perfect. Here we go. That should work. Lovely. So, introduction to Tableau developer tools. So, just introduce myself again. My name is Anya. I'm one of the data dev ambassadors and Tableau visionary as well. And I work as a BI analyst here in Amsterdam. And the Tableau developer tools might sound like a very heavy topic, but hopefully today, after the session, we will all understand what developer tools are, what's the platform, what APIs are available, when and how you can use them, just to understand the usual use cases, and then also where to find more resources, how to learn about this. So the developer tools, there are quite a few, but they can be grouped in 5 main groups. So the first one is automation and integration. So that means that you can use these APIs to automate some manual tasks, create custom workflows, and just manage your Tableau content in a better way. Then you can extend your Tableau capabilities using some custom charts, or maybe running some custom integrations, either integrating Tableau in the app or integrating apps in Tableau. Another group of tools is reference to advanced analytics, and that's when you can use extensions or certain APIs to integrate Tableau with advanced calculations, say running R or Python scripts inside your Tableau dashboards, or even Tableau prep workflows. And also other types of integrations, not only R and Python. Then you can look at how to embed Tableau. So that's how to integrate Tableau in an external app. It can be a website, it can be a proper app, say even mobile app. And the last, but very much not the least, is the data connectivity. So how can you connect to data sources that are not available outside of the box directly in Tableau? So that's how you can, these are the tools you use to build these custom connectors. And this is the first group that we're going to look at, because this makes a very much of a logical sense, because the first thing you need to do when you open Tableau, you need to connect to your data. So out of this group, we can talk about the connectors SDK, the Hyper API, and Web Data Connector. So these are the 3 tools in this group that you can use. And these are the features of these tools that you can use, the comparison tables, just so you understand when will be the best way to use a certain tool. So when we talk about web data connectors, it's usually connecting to a data that is web-based, and it's usually an API. Say there is an API that you have to connect to get data. There is no database, but you connect directly. It's not a static file. Usually you use JavaScript to write these web data connectors, and you can just share a link with other people to the data connector when it's ready. And then you can use this link in Tableau to connect to this data source, to this API, for example, and get the data. Just a word of caution, when you work in Tableau with these web data connectors, you have to work with an extract. You can't connect to the data source live, but there is an option to automate, like in a normal way, refreshes when you use data from these web data connectors on Tableau Server or Tableau Online. So that's a feature there. Next one is a Hyper API. So that allows you to, this API allows you to connect to basically any data source you want. You can use also different languages. It's not only focused on, say, JavaScript or Python. You need to write a code that connects to a data source you need, uses the API to prepare the source, creates the hyper, and publishes it to the Tableau server. So this code has to be somehow put into production, and you have to make sure that all the dependencies are working. That's why it's a little bit more complex when you want to pass it on to, say, another department of your company or other people who need to use it. So it's a little bit more complex to maintain compared to, say, web data connectors. And then the last is the, I can't see my mouse. Sorry. And the last one is the connector SDK. So that allows you to connect to any database that is an ODBC or JDBC driver. You usually use XML and JavaScript to write this connector. And once you have it, you have the file that's called .taco. That's the official name. And then that works just as a normal data connection in the data pane. When you open Tableau Desktop, in the blue pane, you will find this connection. So that's quite easy to share because you just share the file, this taco file, and then people can use it in their own Tableau Desktop. So that's the connecting part. So now we have our data. Let's now go next and look at how we can do something fancy with this data, how we can run some advanced analytics. So here you can use, as I said, integration with Python, with R, with MATLAB as well. And more broadly, you can use the Analytics Extension API to basically integrate it with a variety of different sources. Say there is a project in the community where you can connect directly to your Python code, which is stored in the Jupyter notebook, and trigger this code directly in the Jupyter notebook and get the data from it. So that's quite a cool integration. A little bit of an overview how you do this. You write a normal Tableau, create a normal Tableau calculated field, and there you write out your script, Python or R, and pass the fields that you want to go into your script to, say, maybe update certain parameters or add certain values. And then it works as a table calculation. So all the things that you know about table calculations in Tableau apply to this type of calculations, the script ones. But when you have this calculation, you run the script and your data, say your model in Tableau Desktop, for example, updates in real time. The limitation a little bit now is that you cannot use this integration in Tableau Prep if you have Tableau Online, but I understand that it's in the works. At the moment, you run your script and you can get only one value back, in the sense that, for example, you have a model and it brings you 4 different types of values back. I don't know, measure 1, measure 2, measure 3, measure 4. And you have to create 4 different calculated fields for each measure. In May at the conference, they announced that there's going to be changed and you will be able to bring the whole table back, which is amazing. I'm very excited about that. But at the moment, you just need to remember that you have to create individual calculations for that. But it runs directly in Tableau Desktop. You don't even need to know how this calculation, how the script is structured. And as I said, you can also embed different types of analytical apps. As I was saying, that someone embedded the Jupyter notebooks. You don't need to write out maybe a very big Python script. You just need to have the reference to your Jupyter notebook, and then the script will run in the same way when you interact with data somehow in the dashboard. You can use these features, the analytics extension, not only to run some complex maybe models or statistical calculations, but also to get data from APIs. So you can write a Python script that will send, say, for example, you have a map, you click on the map on the country, it sends the name of the country to an API, it gets you a weather forecast or a foreign currency exchange rate. So you can do this as well using this API. So now we have our data, we did something with it, we calculated certain things. We want to now automate how we work in general with Tableau. And there are quite a few tools that you can use. There is a REST API, webhooks, Metadata API, Hyper API as well. It can be used to automate creation and publishing of the data sources that I mentioned in the first group. And then there are Tableau server command and Tableau server management. We can have a look at it in a second. So REST API, the main thing that you use it for, the main things to manage your server, to manage users, to manage your content, maybe migrating from one site to another, moving between projects, generating, that's a very frequent use case, generating images of your dashboards, generating snapshots of reports and sending them somewhere. So quite a lot of things can be done with this REST API. And the Tableau Server Client is the Python library that Tableau designed specifically to make it easier for people to work with REST API. There are also other libraries, Python libraries designed by community. They're not supported by Tableau, but there are different projects people are building on this API. And then Tableau Service Manager is a command line interface that allows you to automate the server maintenance. You can use it to automate the backups, you can automate the restores, upgrades, more of a technical side of thing, while the REST API allows you to work more with users and the content. And then the webhooks, which is quite a fun feature that allows you to trigger other services with events that are happening in your Tableau server. Say if you have a refresh that's very important for you, or a data source, it fails, you want to be notified where you get your notifications. So obviously now there is much better integration with Slack, but you can say, for example, like I did, create a notification that is going to publish a tweet when the refresh fails. So you see that I use the library that Tableau created of these snippets that you can use to very quickly build different webhooks. And when my extract refresh failed, I sent out a tweet that was tagging a certain account, had hashtags, and it can happen every time a certain event on Tableau server happens. So it can be very funny. It can be also quite useful if you know the use case. Next one is my one and only love is the Metadata API. Compared to the REST API, this API is a read-only, so that means that you can't use this API to change, update, or delete anything on your server, but it's a great tool to understand what content do you have, the lineage between these different types of content, say, which calculated fields are created based on which fields from which database, and so on and so forth. So that's a great tool, and I can show you maybe afterwards if you're interested. Like I built a data dictionary as a use case for that, and yeah, you can really bring data governance to a different level. And come on, yes. Next group is Extensibility, and this is about either embedding Tableau into external app or bringing different apps into Tableau. So we have Extensions API and Embedding API here. And here are the two examples. On the left, you have a simple Tableau dashboard that is embedded in a website. You can see you still have all the functionality. You can filter, you can use parameters, everything like you use a normal Tableau dashboard, but it is in a website. And you can just embed it in a very simple way. You can also embed it, I'll show you in a second, in a more complex way with like buttons and everything around. So that's done using JavaScript API. On the right, you have an example of an extensions API, and that's when you do the opposite, when you bring an application into your Tableau dashboard. And here you can see an example of building custom charts, say like a radar chart that is not available out of the box in Tableau, but you can build it using an extension. Or you can build something more fun, right, than a radar chart. You can build a Mario game, and that's what Merlijn is going to talk later, how he actually built it. The great thing about extensions now that you can bring them directly in your Tableau desktop. You don't even need to go and download them from the extensions gallery. They're now available directly in Tableau desktop. So that's the, again, differences between JavaScript and extension APIs. So the main thing is that JavaScript API is used to bring Tableau into other web applications, extensions API to bring other applications into Tableau. And the last group is kind of like an extension of the previous one. So that's more focused on embedding, because you can do really a lot of different things with Tableau when you embed it in different applications. So again, the same embedding API that we just looked at, but you can also use a Mobile App Bootstrap. That means that you can embed Tableau in your mobile applications. And then you can also use REST API to automate certain things. So the JavaScript API, that's what I was saying, that you can embed your Tableau dashboard, which you can see in the middle of the screen. But then on the left, this is not the Tableau interface. This is custom design in a button menu on the website. But the events when someone clicks on a certain feature, they trigger whatever happens with your Tableau dashboard. So say like you want to switch between different sheets, or you want to navigate to different workbook, or you want actually to export thing into a PDF. So this is not the Tableau interface, but the web interface here is working directly with your Tableau dashboard. And the REST API here can be used, for example, in this case, to create this really nice portal where using the REST API, you generate images, the most recent images of the dashboards, and they're presented to you, and you can just click on the image and go to a particular dashboard. So instead of, say, maybe people, or if your clients, for example, don't have access to a Tableau server, they can have this really nicely designed portal where you click and go to different content. And the last one is the Mobile App Bootstrap, which I mentioned. You can embed charts directly in your mobile app. And just to recap, there are 5 different groups. We talked about automation and integration. We talked about how to extend your Tableau in different web apps. We talked about how to run some advanced analytics, how to do embedding of Tableau, and we talked on how to connect to data that's not directly available in Tableau out of the box. And to give you some resources, there were a lot of things, but the main thing is if you want to learn more, I would really encourage everyone to join Tableau Developer Program. It's free. You don't need to do anything. But it gives you really nice option of learning about new APIs or new features of APIs early. You do get a free Tableau online sandbox, your personal environment where you can do whatever you want, break things as you want, and really practice and work with all these different APIs. You do have access also to a great community of users, but also of Tableau tech team on Slack. And just become familiar with the T-Rex in you, and maybe this is a little bit an in joke, but the T-Rex is present in my presentation very much, because the file for when you create a Tableau extension is called .trex. It's an official name, so you will see T-Rex a lot when you start working with the developer tools. And just to mention as well that there's also a great developer program portal where you can have access to different resources, documentation, recordings of some events and user group meetings. And also highly recommend to look at the Tableau Bingo as well. So it's a set of mini challenges that allow you at different levels to work with different APIs, build certain projects, and just fun exercise to learn about all those different activities. I also put together a list of resources that are general, but also talk about certain APIs. There is documentation, but a lot of it is also just the community resources, so different blogs or YouTube videos. So feel free to have a look there. And the main thing is, again, the T-Rex is back. Don't forget to have fun. We all start somewhere, and it might sound like it's all very complicated. But, you know, in a couple of months, you will be just sliding through all the APIs like you knew them all the time. And yeah, just enjoy this project and enjoy and have fun. And yeah, feel free to keep in touch if you have any questions or want to see maybe some things in more details after the talk. I'm happy to answer, but I guess we have time for the questions now. So also feel free to ask any questions. Yeah.
Embedding it in your website. Do you need a license for that? To view the dashboard?
So depends.
Let's repeat the question.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because
Sorry. Yeah. No, very good point. Yeah, the question was if you embed dashboards in your website, do you need a separate license or not? The answer is always it depends. The example that I showed you, for example, that is a work for charity that uses Tableau Public to publish their work. For that, you just can embed the Tableau Public and share your work. If you have a public website where everyone can access it, I understand you don't need a separate license for that. But if you have a portal where people have to log in and you know, only certain people can have access, then you do need a certain license. But I think there are some people from Tableau here who will be more professionally able to help you. But it's a very good and very frequent question. Yeah, thank you. Fair point.
There is a different question.
Mm.
I think API is like a resource describing the user with Excel.
Someone who used Excel. Well, to work with Hyper API, you need to write a script. So it can be Python or any other language that's familiar, but I guess if you understand Excel from how to work with data point of view, you can learn a little bit of Python, but I guess there is no way around it. Any other questions? No? No. Okay. I'll be here. Thank you.
So, yeah, so thanks, Anna. And now we'll see APIs in action. And pay a lot of attention, everyone, because after the session, we're doing a bingo and it's API based. And I'm not joking, I will see people off it. So pay attention, get familiarized with the terms that everyone is using here today. This way we'll shine in the bingo time, right? And we do have swags for the winners. So, Milan, with you.
All right. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone in the room and hello on the other side. Welcome to a presentation about how to add business value to Tableau and how to build a game and play it secretly while having Tableau open. I'm Merlin. I will introduce myself in a second, but as every Salesforce presentation has a forward-looking statement, I also have one. So let's have a look at my forward-looking statement. This session is going to have a lot of demos, so Tableau can crash. Don't try it at home, or try it at home. And a little side note, I did not sleep a lot the last days because my child was sick. But he's still smiling in his little Tableau suit, so cannot be angry at that, but then you just know. My name is Merlin. I'm a Tableau visionary for 4 years now, and I specialize in the Tableau APIs. I won the Tableau Innovation Solution in 2019 with my company, and also the Tableau Hackathon together with Tristan in 2019. We made the Easy Hooks application based on webhooks, which was quite fun.
Tristan, right?
Tristan.
Dutch one, not the French.
No, it's the French one.
The French one, okay.
Yeah, Willevin, I think it's called. Yeah. I'm the founder of Apps for Tableau, and on a daily basis, I work on building extensions and yes, basically helping customers around the world add value to Tableau. That has been founded in 2018, currently 20 customers already, and yeah, already 500 customers around the world using those products on a daily basis. We have 12 extensions, 1 accelerator, and which launched yesterday actually, very proud of that. Together with Klaus, probably know Klaus Schulte, is from Germany. We worked together on this and we launched it yesterday in the accelerator part of the exchange. Very proud of that. And we have 3 apps, which one of that is coming very soon, and you will all like that very much. It has been built together with a customer, and we will put it also somewhere in an exchange. The goal for today, I will tell you how and why you should use APIs, in particular the extensions API. I will show you how to build something like Mario and chess in Tableau. It's all basic, so no deep dive code, but I will just show you tips and tricks in Tableau, tips and tricks in code. I will show you the lessons I learned, and then we can talk about a little bit of questions. So let's talk about the goal. I think the main goal for today is to get inspired by the power of the extensions API, and especially learn a lot by having fun. So a lot of people ask me, why are you doing this? It's the second point. It's learn by having fun. It's not about business value. It's just about having fun. And of course, learn new methods, new things you can do with APIs. Just see what's out there and how you can combine it and create things you are not imagining you can do. And yeah, why I love the extension API, why I love APIs in general. If you see this as Tableau, this little toolkit, you have a hammer, saw, and all kinds of tooling. You can build graphs, you can do dashboarding, you can publish it somewhere on a Tableau Online or Tableau Cloud platform. But if you have APIs, you have things like these drawers. You have way more power to you to do anything you want. So you have, and that's basically why I love these APIs, because you have so much more power to do anything you like. I think embedding is a great example. Extensions API is a great example. JavaScript API, but they're also adding new APIs, like the search API has just been released. So there's so much you can do. And to show you one of the most important dashboards and most important extensions you all need to have a look at is Mario in Tableau, of course. And let me open it up. It should also have sound, so I'll enable my sound. So here it is. It's just a dashboard, as you can see. It's a setup, but I can use my mouse to walk around. And I can also jump. And it will do all kinds of filter actions in Tableau and show me that coin. I can grab it. I can get a score of 1 coin. And one of the things you see is that Mario can walk through the bushes, but he cannot fall down through the blocks. So something magical is happening there in that scatter plot. And also the Goomba is moving from the left to the right. I will show you in a second how we did this weird stuff. And sometimes you can walk through it, sometimes not. This has to do something with my calculations. It's a rounding issue, but you should be able to die actually. Yeah, and maybe my shortcode is still in there. Yes, there's the hidden shortcode. Anyone who can find it knows how to get to the end. And when you go to the end, you can just grab the pole here and it automatically takes over, gives you a big high score, and you walk to the castle and you're done. So this is a scatter plot in Tableau, and I still remember the moment when I sent it to Tableau. It was, I think they released the API or like some kind of early access And then I did a hackathon together with Chaling, one of my old friends. And we built it in a day, this thing, and we sent it to Tableau. And they were like, oh, fun, you put an emulator in Tableau using an iframe. We're like, no, this is a scatter plot. This is real, this is Tableau. And they could not remember, they could not believe it. So the whole weekend they started analyzing the dashboard, how we did it and stuff. We had a lot of views actually also on the dashboard on public. And I think it's still a great moment and one of my highlights in my career in Tableau. So how some background story on this. There's of course data, and every block you see in the game has been put in Excel by me, by hand. So every block has a position and a shape, for example, a ground, a bush, coin, and it has some properties like if you can walk through it or not, a collide, we call that. And also things like target ID, which means if you hit it, it should do a filter action to a different ID to make it visible. I'll show you in a second. Some things like visible, invisible. For example, a coin is invisible by default. We make it visible. And some other things like if it's moving or not, like the Goombas. So you can imagine that took some time to put that in Excel. And if you put it in Excel and you get it in Tableau and you assign the right shapes to the right elements, you get this already. So this is just a basic scatter plot. It looks like this if you not scale it properly. But yeah, this is not too fancy. But this is how you create how you just do it normally in Tableau. And yeah, you can imagine if you have Mario, he's walking from the left to the right, he jumps, he has all these weird, all these animations. We also had to do something with that. So we use parameters for that. And Mario is always the main point of the game. So Mario is always in the middle and we move everything around Mario. That's actually how it's working. Mario's not moving, he's just standing still. It looks like he's moving. So he has a type, which is a shape, Mario 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we call it like that. And he has an X and Y position. And based on those positions, we calculate, we look with the API, what's around Mario. So if there's a block around him or not, and based on that, we do an action. For example, if he hits his head, we stop and we let him walk down. But if he hits his head on a question mark, we have to do an action, which is a filter action, a Tableau filter action. All those weird stuff is happening in this dashboard. And to give you some example here, for example, because it's a loop, we are updating a Tableau parameter all the time. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you put that on an x-axis and you make a sinus wave, you get this. And if you put that on the position of a Goomba, he's going to do this. Just a weird trick. That was the only thing we could come up with. We also built Pac-Man, and there they actually just walk around the enemies. But this was the first one, and this is the thing we could think of. But yeah, that's why you see him walking around, and it's also why you see the coin like turning a little bit like this. All shapes based on that specific parameter. Yeah, and those are those interactive blocks. And what you can see is the visible ID is on is by default 665 is offline. You hit it, then we basically say to the filter enable it. It will show that mark in Tableau. It's just a mark. And then when you grab it, we remove it from the ID list. So we basically make it visible and then we remove it again. And then add the score to the parameter score with +1, for example. Yeah, so that's how these tricks work. So it's a lot of parameters, filters, moving around left to right, all possible with Tableau. So this is, I found this really cool that this is just possible with Tableau. It shows the power of the product. And to give you a little bit of an idea on how such an extension would look like, it's one JavaScript file. It's just one big file where there is a setup part where we initialize, we load the things in. For example, we start to listen to key bindings. For example, the keys on your keyboard, we need to do something with that. So we listen to that. We set some parameters. We ask Tableau, okay, what parameters do you have? What data do you have? Everything. And then the next part is the loop. So it's just starting to loop. And it starts to listen to your things you're doing all the time, just hundreds of times of a second. That's basically how a game works in general. It's just a big loop. And the more loops it does, the higher your frame rate. I'm not really technical into games, but that's basically how it works. And in that loop, we do things like reading the inputs, the arrow keys. We calculate Mario's next position. We do collision testing. We play sounds, of course, and all those other things. And some insights for you, if you are interested in this. If you build an extension, the first thing always is you need to initialize it, basically say load the extension API, and when it's loaded, you can do something with it. one of the things is, for example, get the parameters. So you ask Tableau, please give me the list of parameters from the workbook. And then with that, we make a little map. Doesn't matter, it's just about the highlighted part. Another thing you can do is grab data from a worksheet. And in this case, summary data. And that's the same as when you select marks in a visual, you hit view data, you get the summarized data, the aggregated data. That's what we get here. It's the summarized data. And then the last part is we set up basically an object of what we keep track of Mario, basically where he is and stuff. And when you hit blocks, we have an update Mario, which is doing all kinds of things. So if he moves to the left, to the right, if he can move, then we just update the X parameter and the Y parameter and push it to Tableau and he will move. That's basically how the movement is working. And of course, if something is a Goomba, there's a reset function, then you die, the music plays, and that's it. Yeah, yeah, this is maybe a bit too, okay, doesn't matter, but that is how Mario works. And if you manage to finish the game, you go to the castle like me on the left, and you're done. So that's Mario. It's pretty cool, right? All right, cool. Then let's talk about a different game. This is also quite interesting. I was watching the Queen's Gambit series on Netflix, and one of my favorite series actually. And I always wanted to do something with chess and Tableau, but I never knew what and why. And then Gigi from Tableau, Geraldine Sanoli, also from the Tableau developer part, she asked me, can you do a presentation on the Data Dev Day and maybe make a new game? I go, well, why not? Make a new game, of course. Let's do a new game. And so 1 + 1 is 3. And I started to make this game. I didn't have a child yet at that point, so that's why this time period is possible. Otherwise, there was a lot of different stuff in between. But I, on Friday evening, thought, okay, what if I want to do something like this? I need to talk to an API. I'm not going to write my own data engine, chess engine. There's someone who has done that already. I'm pretty sure. So I started looking for engines and I found Stockfish. And then that's a really good engine. And then I found a Stockfish engine which was built for JavaScript, which I'm using for extensions. And yeah, then you have to figure out, okay, how can I communicate with this? What is it doing? How can I give input to it and how do I get it back? All those things you need to figure out. And also, how do I translate it back into Tableau to make it visually appealing and look good and also move things around? Yeah, and then at 30 minutes past the night, which was still possible without a baby, it was fine. I shared something with Gigi. I said, okay, is this something cool? She said, oh, this is amazing. So on Saturday morning, I think probably 11 o'clock, just, you know, I combined the two, the workbook and the extension, and it was already working. It was ugly. There were no shapes yet. It was just an ugly grid. Again, a scatter plot, of course, and it was working. And then on Sunday, I made it look better, and I actually won my first game. No, it didn't, but I tried to win my first game. It's a good engine. It's really hard. Yeah, so that's basically what it does. Again, there's data. Every shape, every block in the game, 64, the squares is a piece of data. And of course, all the pawns are also data points, also marks. And what we do, or what I do here, is this dashboard contains of multiple layers on top of each other. So you have the scatter plot in the back, which are the blocks, which is your board, basically. Then you have the pawns on top. There is a layer for the highlighting. When you click on something, you see a little blue line around it. That's a different layer. And then there's a layer called an invisible layer. I will just show you in a second. I will tell you in a second what to do. And that's a layer to prevent the mark selection. Because if you normally click on the mark, the rest is deselected. It fades out. You don't want that in such a dashboard. You want it to be selected, and then, so there's a trick for that. And everything is a scatter plot. Again, with custom shapes, just somewhere from the internet. So let me show you how it works. Just, yeah, this one is closed. So this is the workbook. Again, can I close this pane for a second? No, it doesn't matter. Okay, this is the workbook. And whenever you click on the mark, for example, this one, it's, by the way, Tableau is communicating to us. So it says the game has started and it's your turn. So I can click on a pawn like this one. It gets highlighted, as you can see, and I can move it to that place. Oh, and the animation is a bit slow because of the screen sharing, but normally it smoothly goes from A to B. And then Tableau is thinking, basically Stockfish is thinking, and it's making a move like that. Now, and then we can just proceed by doing any very, very good move, like killing my queen, for example. Yeah, just see if it responds in the way I hope. So you think it's actually thinking for a long time, but it's actually just me putting in a sleep, so it looks more cool. Yeah, it just responds in a millisecond. Yeah, so Tableau's thinking really hard here. And as you can see, the queen has been lost, and you can also see on the right here, I lost my queen, it's in the little right, it's standing over there. Yeah, and that's it. You can reset the game. Castling is possible. Basically all the techniques you can imagine are possible. You can get chess, you can chessmate, then you get a message like, oh, it's finished, thank you for playing. You can change the level here, so there are different levels. I was playing on beginner, still really hard. Anyway, yeah, that's basically how it works. Yeah, and to give you some Tableau tricks, we're all Tableau lovers here, of course. The game is basically one big parameter. So everything I get back from my API, I translate in code and put it in the parameter for Tableau. And my pawns are basically reading locations from that parameter. So if it's a pawn A, then it's reading from the left first two inputs of the parameter, and then etc. etc. And whenever a pawn is, for example, killed, like my queen, then I change the shape to an invisible shape. I don't know if you know that, but you can in Tableau use invisible transparent shapes. You can make it any size you want, but you can just make a transparent shape. You can use it and you can do all kinds of cool tricks with that, like selection boxes and stuff. But I use this to just hide the piece on the board. It's just somewhere hidden. And I add it actually to that separate worksheet, like this one is killed. One of the other things I'm using is a dynamic parameter with parameter actions to do those that highlighting of that blue and green part where you're going to. That's with parameter actions. So when you click on something, that location is in the parameter, and then I highlight that in that third layer I was talking about. And when you click on something else, it's a second parameter action, and then highlight that again. And then it deselects both. Basically, it's another parameter action just doing this. Like, okay, get rid of the values again. So that's some Tableau magic. There's a transparent sheet with that highlight trick I talked about. If you do a worksheet action on itself, you can do a true on false action. I can show you later if you want. Then you can basically prevent Tableau to select something. So it selects, quickly deselects, and then you don't get that highlighted mark, and the rest is all transparent action. So it's a little trick you can use. And of course, animations were introduced, so it looks really smooth by the pawns just moving around. So we do some cool things for that, if your computer is quick enough. Okay, little bit of code. Again, this is a game loop, but a bit easier. And I think the cool thing is that compared to Mario, this one is talking to an API all the time. And that's where I learned the most, because I did not really know how to do something like that with this one. And I had to change a lot of values in Tableau parameters, like a message. There's a level parameter. There are all kinds of. There's a state parameter. There's all kinds of stuff. And then of course, in Tableau you don't know what to do. You can click on the pawn. You can just click it on the top right of the board. And how do you play with that information? Because the API will say, not good. But how do you translate that back to a dashboard that the user also knows it's an illegal move? Things like that, and castling. So that's all here in the code. I'm doing all kinds of if statements, trying to figure out if it's legal what the people are doing, or sending information back. Yeah, and then at the end you get a game like this. And I think this one turned out pretty well. And if you want to actually play it, you can download it from my Tableau public account, also the Mario one. And for the chess, I also made the code open source, so you can download it from my GitHub. You just have a look. You can have a look at that game loop if you want, see how it works, how the Stockfish engine is integrated. It's not high-level code. It has been built in a weekend. But anyway, it's working. That's the most important. That's always important with code. If it's working, don't touch. Okay? And so what did I learn here? And why did I do it? Okay, first thing, I learned quite a lot of things with Tableau. For example, the chess also has a collapsing visual on top of it. When you open it on Tableau Public, it used to show a message saying, okay, you have to download this workbook in order to play. And And if you then download it and open it, that just magically disappears. That's something you can do with the Extensions API. I did not know that until that point. Actually, now this is the first Extensions API game whitelisted by Tableau Public. So you can actually play this on Tableau Public. Quite funny. The rest are just some extensions from the Exchange, and also chess is enabled, whitelisted. They did that, so thank you, Tableau. Other thing, improved my coding skills a lot. I learned how to set up a node server in the cloud because I had to deploy it worldwide. And so I set up a node server somewhere. And I quickly learned in a weekend, okay, how do I communicate with APIs I have never talked with and never seen before? And how do I translate that into something from Tableau? Okay, that's my story. If you have any questions, you can find me on Twitter, LinkedIn, Tableau Public, of course, after the presentation as well. And I want to thank you all also there for listening.
Any questions in my mind?
I have a question for
Okay.
the nerdies.
Yeah, nerdies, go ahead.
How did you add the music to the Mario?
How I added the
How did
music.
you make the Tableau play music? Yeah, was it stored somewhere?
It's an MP3 file, yeah. And in the JavaScript, you can start playing music.
Right.
And that's if it's an MP3 or WAV file, that's also working. Yeah. And you can do .play or .stop or .restart. Yeah, you can actually do that. Yeah, it's native.
Actually, we are going to play a game now.
There's one more question I saw.
So like I've worked with GameTech a lot, and like a funny thing is that in recent years they've been moving more towards making things act like databases, because that's just how you want to approach like a Mario level or the stuff in it. So now I'm wondering, you've kind of hacked this together. How did it feel? Did it feel like a smooth process?
Yeah, I think, yeah, so the reason why this is a success is because I don't have to write the graphical engine. So I'm using Tableau for the graphical part. The only thing I have to do is just say to Tableau, do this. And that's why it's so easy to build it. So that's why it's so smooth. But the game is not running smooth. It's because Tableau is not made to do 60 FPS and all those highly interactive, but it's very easy to see Tableau as a visual engine you can communicate with and draw things in very easily. Yeah, so the process for me was really smooth. Yeah, yeah.
Hey everyone. So we're going to continue with the Tableau APIs at work. I know it's a bit boring at the end of the day after working hours, but let's look at Tableau APIs and how some use cases we've seen with Bistory. So we as Bistory, we're a Tableau consultancy. We do a lot of work with analytics stuff, building dashboards, but also embedding, working a bit of work with extensions, certainly not as extensive as Merlin does it, but we still partner with Apps for Tableau. So work with that as well. But also we do, everything technical that you could do beyond that. And we also do like modern data stack where we connect Tableau with Salesforce, with Snowflake, with Fivetran and all of that. There's a whole lot there, but if you need anything technical, we definitely know our stuff, I would say. But yeah, so we're 90 plus consultants. We're in 4 locations. Netherlands is just one of our locations. We're in Belgium, the UK, Germany, Switzerland, Austria, DACH, basically. And in the Netherlands, we have a lot of this expertise as well. We have consultants based here who do analytics service, advanced analytics stuff as well, and data engineering, data science, all of that above. Anyways, beyond that, talking about embedding, I learned coding pretty young. I don't know how I got started. I think, I grew up in Oman and just had a computer. So we started coding. So since then, I've always loved coding. So when I joined Bistory, I joined to build dashboards, but I found a second love seeing all these APIs that are there. So I started actually using the APIs a lot more. And so I started doing a lot more embedding stuff, and I started experiencing the Embedding API. Now, something to correct, we heard JavaScript API. It's not a correction really, but it's more a confusion that can occur. There is the JavaScript API and there's the Embedding API. Both are based on JavaScript, but confusingly enough, the new version, which is version 3 of the API, is called the Embedding API. So if you're searching for it, search for the Embedding API. Your life will be much simpler. Don't think about searching for a JavaScript API. Do search for the Embedding API. But it's still a JavaScript API, but it's called the Embedding API. So let's look at a simple embed of how you could do that. It'd be nice to have a demo. So what I'm going to do for that, I'm going to pick up a dashboard here. I forgot how to hide this. Oh, I am? No, I'm actually not on mute.
You are in there.
No, that computer's on mute.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Thanks for the check. All right. I forgot how to make this hide this, but anyways, okay. There's a toolbar here that's a bit annoying. All right, so in here, I'm going to take this dashboard and try to embed this. The simplest way to start, just click the share button. You see copy embed code. I go to VS Studio Code. I'm just going to create a new file, test.html. Paste this code in here, just what I got there. If I save it, it'll auto format. I take that path, go back into my browser, drop it in here. And voila, I've got a dashboard. It looks really simple. It's not as simple because there is authentication going on in the background. There's authorization based on who's the user. It was all figured out here because I was already logged into the server. So I didn't have to pass any of that. But you can go more complex than this. So to begin, the beginning, Anya had given a brief description of what is possible. But just to flesh out on that, you could definitely have the simple embed is the easiest way to use it. This is actually a different API, which is less capable, but you can actually use the embedding API, which is way more capable. So to use that, actually, I'm going to use the simple HTML file that I have. If I go to presentation mode, I've got this, it's just HTML, and I've added a script in here calling the specific API. So this is the JavaScript API call, and I use this Tableau Wiz container here, this element here, just to place all my different parameters that I need, including the dashboard that I need to connect to, and stuff like sizing. I want a specific sizing. And actually to authenticate, I'm using a JSON web token. Authentication is always the most tricky part with embedding, but Tableau does give you a whole lot of options. So it's more a problem of choosing what you need, what's going to align with what you need within your company. But after you have that figured out, it's really simple. So actually here I'm using what's called a web token. So I'm going to pick up this token here. I've not automated this part. This is really just for the demo, but it's relatively simple to automate. So I'm going to place that in there. Go back, pick up the path again. Come back here. Paste that, and of course it doesn't work because it's a demo, so it's definitely not going to work. No, let's try that again. If we come back in here, we should place the token in here. That's still the token. And once we should have gotten that, I think there's something tripped up with my connected apps. But essentially here we should see the dashboard exactly like you would see it here. So here I'm using a new technique that is there in Tableau, which is called connected apps, which is where in your browser, you can actually, once you're a server administrator, you can go in here, define a connected app, which I set up today, and I did enable it, but for some reason it is not picking that up. But anyways, let's not try to spend too much time on that. That's the correct one. Yeah. But anyways, this should have worked. I did test it earlier today. This specific code is telling me that there's something wrong with the issuer ID, but that's something I can look at. But you can go beyond this. You can actually pick that same dashboard, create another token. Let's see, maybe this one works. I don't know. Is it because I'm using it in the same browser? Let's go back in here. And here I have a way more complex portal. Now, this is actually something cool about the embedding API. You can have your web developers just build your portal, place the piece of code that you provide them from your embedded API. And once you've placed that, you can modify the dashboard to your heart's content. As long as the URL of the dashboard stays the same, the dashboard is going to be loaded. So you don't need to go back and forth with your web developer to get the content back. So if I copy that, I think I'm going to try in an incognito tab And there I have my dashboard loading within a way more complex portal. You can have whatever you want in here. To see an example of what you can do beyond with this. So this is a portal you can see here. I have web elements. You can use all kinds of web tooling kits that you might have access to, PHP, JavaScript, whatever, because this API at the end of the day is JavaScript, and that underlies almost all of the internet. So it's really easy to fit it into whatever web toolkit that you have. But you can actually use a lot more with this API. So with this API, you could have buttons as part of your dashboard. Something that's a bit annoying about Tableau, the filters are not that customizable. I don't know if you've come across that. I'm sure you guys use a lot of Tableau. You would have seen the filters are something like this. Wouldn't it be cool if you could stylize those? You could actually do that when you're embedding. You could have whatever possibilities you have with your WebKit to stylize the drop down. You could have any kind of checklist, whatever you want. And when I select something here, that gets passed to my dashboard, and I can do all kinds of filtering from here. And I can also have my dashboard interact with my web page. So here, for instance, I have a simple example where if I select September, it's going to load the Wikipedia page for September. A really simple call. All I'm picking up is what's the month, creating the Wikipedia link. Same, I can switch to April. Then again, I'll switch the Wikipedia page. So you can have all this kinds of interaction. You can build parameters. We had the example earlier of just exporting PDF, exporting data. All these buttons that you usually see in Tableau server can be ported all to your embedded portal. Going back to my presentation. So we got fancy. And then we talk about going beyond that to automating the security in Tableau. So far we looked at the embedding API, and the embedding API is way more, sorry, I want to set a timer. I do tend to talk a lot more than I should. So I'm going to try to keep it on the dot. So with the embedding API, you can embed dashboards, you can showcase whatever you want. You can have your parameters running as part of your web code. You could have exporting PDF, exporting PowerPoint, exporting data. All this could be part of your web toolkit, whatever elements you have in your web page. But you can go beyond that to automating the security. So this is with the Tableau REST API. Now, REST is a global protocol. Again, it's compatible with a whole lot of coding platforms that you might use. A lot of APIs that are being used right now with your phone would either use SOAP or REST. They're one of the main protocols, but it's compatible with any coding language. I mostly use Python for a lot of my development, but for WebKit development, I use Golang. It's still compatible there. You can use whatever you want there. So let's see an example of how you would use the REST API. Here again. So we talk about user provisioning. So when you're embedding, you want to make sure that as much as possible is already automated. Because let's say, well, we have clients where they have 2,000 users who are going to join their Tableau server over the lifetime of the application, let's say. They definitely don't want to go to Tableau, add the user, go to the portal, add the user, go to whatever SSO creator they have, SSO provider they have, and add the user. That is definitely not the way to go. You want to automate that as much as possible. And this is possible with the REST API. Here, for instance, I'm just going to make a test user. Let me just give it a random password. Now, if I register, I've been created now in the database. And I can go down here and see, all right, I want to see, send this user now. And if I send this, this is actually when the user gets created. There I saved it in the database. The user is now created. And if I scroll down, it just shows you the options that you can have. Now we can use this user to see what else is possible here. I go to the connected apps part. The connected apps is what I mentioned earlier for authentication. I'm using a JSON web token. Again, a standard. So this is actually a great example of how Tableau really tries to stick with the standards that are there in the developing world, which makes it easy for you to connect to whatever other toolkit you have. I've never been in a situation where we're trying to embed and the technology was a limiting factor. The only possibility was if they needed an OAuth token that was very custom. Yeah, Tableau, you can't customize those tokens, but you have connected apps, which really makes it flexible. So as long as you have some kind of a client that can connect to JSON web tokens, which is a standard, it's so much easier. So here again, I'm just going to log in. Logged in, generate the JSON web token. I get that. I'm going to use that to redeem a view. Again, should work. Demo time, I just got nervous. Let's leave that at that. But we should be able to go in here to content REST API. And now we can actually start querying using the token that I just generated. I can get a list of workbooks. So when I get this list of workbooks, I can see, all right, these are the workbooks that you have access to, all kind of stuff like who's the owner, what's the name of this workbook, and I can get the image of this workbook. And now here I get all the images that could be, and I could surface those images now into a WebKit. Now this brings up to another pain point that we see with clients, which is where they want a low code environment. They don't want to maintain this. So what I mean by that is if you develop a new dashboard, you don't want to go back to your web developers and say, hey, build a new page for this dashboard. Rather, you want it to be automatically available. And that is possible with the REST API, because now you can automatically pass what is the list of your workbooks, what are the views that are available. You can put tags in Tableau server. You could say this is for deployment, this is for embedding, and that could be easily pushed across. So going back. So that is mostly what the REST API can do. I'm trying to rush through this. Then we'll talk about the document API. So far we've looked at the embedding API, embedding content, showing parameters, exporting PDF, purely for surfacing that Tableau in an iframe in your web portal. Then the REST API, automating user management. You could use that to create groups, create row-level security. That's actually one part I didn't miss here, actually, sorry. But you can also have row-level security enabled in here. Let me log in. Just user. Row-level security, where you would usually publish dashboards probably. You could just push that across again with an API. And now I see that I'm being given APAC access. There's one dashboard without row-level security and one with. I can change it to EMEA. And then you see it just updates as is. So all this could be automated, reducing the work of any admins that you might have. Going back here. And then finally, I'm going to look at, well, not finally, the document API is the third API I want to look at, which is an API that modifies your workbooks for you. So this is a complicated flow. It looks very complicated, but essentially what this is trying to show is a typical case of after embedding of how a user wants to move dashboards across. Now, these dashboards, usually you would have, they're all XML files, as some of you might know, and you can modify this XML with XML hacking if you want, but there are usually some compatibility issues. So instead, Tableau has given you the document API, which can modify this for you. And using the document API with the REST API, you can have special cases, like for one client, which Catalina will show later, where they have an external Tableau server, purely external production, and an internal production. They develop all the dashboards on the internal production, which has access to the database. But now when they want to publish it for public use, they want to click a button, have a script, pick up the dashboard from internal production, publish it to external production, and replace the database connection to no longer point to their actual production database. And this is possible with the document API. It just replaces the XML. It takes care of correcting all the links and then publishes the dashboard. So with the REST API, the embedding API, and the document API, you can really have this migration flow happen smoothly for you. And the last thing I'll look at is the metadata API. Again, I agree with Anya. It's the most amazing thing to use. The possibilities are endless, but I'm just hypothesizing one possibility here. Another pain point that I see at clients is where they have users who build, actually this is a case I'm working on right now. There's a user client where they have like 3,000 users and they have all these dashboards being created. People are crazy about Tableau. They love using Tableau. They create a whole lot of dashboards, but they're usually duplicates. There is actually someone who's making the same dashboard, publishing it week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, just because they forgot that I made it another week. I could just change the filter there, but no, they actually publish it over and over again. Wouldn't it be cool if you could search across Tableau and find the dashboards? You can. Tableau does give you that option. If you have the data management add-on, you can find tables. You can find other dashboards that use a specific table. But with the metadata API, you can go even deeper. You can actually search for calculated fields. So are there fields that are being used? I can surface all the dashboards that use a specific field, and then you can avoid, well, you can make it a first step that people first search for their whatever field they need, see if it's being used, find those workbooks and use them first. And that could eliminate a lot of this at this client as well, all this duplicate workbooks being created. So those are some use cases. I'm going to hand it over to Catalina to actually dive deeper into the metadata API, a use case with that.
I've just, yeah, louder. Okay, is this better? Okay, so big disclaimer, I'm not an API expert. I do have a background in consulting, data engineering, everything Tableau, but no APIs. So I'm presenting this today on behalf of my colleague Agnese, who couldn't be here due to personal reason, like vacation, because it's summer and she's in Italy now. So that's much nicer, I imagine. She's one of our analytics consultants. She's trained in data science, machine learning, statistics. She's one of our qualified trainers and our talent acquisition lead. So if you're ever looking for something new, it's that. What happened? Yeah. Now, the metadata API, it works on both Tableau on-premise and Tableau online. So no matter which of the two you're using, you have access to that. It is GraphQL based. This is a query language for APIs. So that's how you communicate with it. You can use it to discover external data associated with the content published. That's mean I publish some dashboards and I want to know what data sources are there, what kind of fields are in those data sources, and learn some things about them, about the embedded data sources in the workbook or the published ones. And you can track the lineage and relationships between your content, right? I want to know if I have a parameter, as Anya already mentioned it earlier, in which calculations am I using that? So if I'm going to make a change, what will be the effect on my dashboard in the end? The way this was built, it's scripted in Python. So there's a Python script. I'll show it to you. It's not super complex. I could understand it. So I'm pretty sure you will too. It has a couple of steps. So first, you import the libraries you need from Python. And there's so much online. A lot of people are developing these libraries that you can easily access and use. You have to connect to your Tableau server. So you put your server name, you pass a token so you can connect to it. You define some GraphQL query syntaxes, which I think is the most, let's say, a bit difficult part because it's very specific to this API. What Agnese did in this case, and I'm listing them because I will show them to you earlier, is she defined a query function. So to reduce the redundancies, so she defined the query function, and then she used that to run the individual queries where she pulled the information she wanted to pull. And you can have different outputs through this query. Normally it's a JSON, but if you, for example, would like to join the outputs that you have, you would have to normalize these tables. I don't know, I think most of you are familiar with JSONs and the format and the way it works. And when you put that into Tableau, it looks very pretty. However, it doesn't allow you to do joins between this individual output. And then you export it. So real quick, calculated fields. I think a lot of you are interested in that. Sometimes maybe you have a lot of dashboards on your server and maybe you want to check some calculations you do across dashboards if you use a similar logic, because maybe you do them for different audiences, but you use the same calculations and you want to do maybe some data quality checks, or you use this just as a standard documentations to document that, and people have visibility to that. You'll see on the left side, you have two different small queries. These are the GraphQL syntaxes I was telling you about. They're quite simple. The first one, it's looking at embedded data sources. So it says, okay, within this workbook, I want to look at all the embedded data sources. I want to retrieve the fields out of it, and I want these following fields. So where you see field ID, two dots ID is basically you're renaming the name that comes naturally from through this API to something that's more familiar to the end users, for which you will publish the dashboard later. And the second one, it's more specific to the dashboard. So then you want to see in which workbook, which dashboards, which sheet are you using specific calculation. And the example I put here, it's obviously, we just dropped this in Tableau and made a quick dashboard, but you'll see, well, I have this P&L KPI tiles dashboard, I have these calculated fields, and then I can see the calculation formula. And you can build a dashboard for people to understand a little bit better how you put this together, if anyone is interested in that. Another cool one that I just mentioned is parameters. So again, I say through the workbook, show me the parameters and the calculated field in which they are used, right? Because that's the relationship I'm interested in. I don't want to know, okay, this is a parameter, but I want to know what impact it will have when I do that. So you see, you have the dashboard, I have the comparative parameter, and I know I'm using in these 5 calculations. Now, onward to the output, we said, okay, it could be a JSON. And nice thing about JSON, when you drop it in Tableau, it creates like this beautiful folder. So everything looks really neat, very nice, but no joining, right? So if any of the queries you're running, like the three queries we looked at, if you would ever want to put together 2 of those insights, you cannot. Then you can use the Hyper API to actually, you generate these 3 queries, you normalize them. So you make them, normalizing means making something from a JSON format into a flat table format, columnar, right? So it's quite standard. Then you could put those into a Hyper extract. So basically it creates an extract with 3 table objects that you can then build relationships between and use them any way you want. And of course, very cool one, you can write directly into a data warehouse as long as you have access to that API. For example, Snowflake. Like if I have Snowflake and I have access to their API, I can push the data directly there and have this analysis run on a daily basis just to analyze what's happening on my server and with the dashboards. And this last one, it's a little bit, how do you normalize a table? Again, it's just a package in Python, JSON normalize, you define some parameters, you're done. Now, this was the presentation, pretty short. I'm going to show you real quick the script, just so you can see how that's put together, like in pieces. So as I said, if any of you are familiar with Python, you first have to import your libraries so you can work with them later on. Sorry? Okay, yeah. Is this better? Sorry. Again, importing your libraries, including the Tableau API library that you will need to use. Then this part is where you do your Tableau server configuration, where you say, well, this is the server I'm looking at, and this is how I will have access to it. And then you start defining your syntaxes for GraphQL and other ones I already showed you earlier, where you request whatever you want. Now, you might be like, okay, but how do I even know what to look for when I do this? Well, Tableau has some very neat documentation. And if you give me a second, next one. Where did that go? That bar is making my life complicated. Can I move this way? Yes. Yeah, that's it. So GraphQL Tableau has this library where you can see exactly, look for the object you're trying to see, and you can see the parent-child relationship between this object, right? So let's say a workbook will sit in a project. Some sheets will belong to a workbook. Some parameters will be used in some calculations, and these relationships can go both ways. You can have multiple parents, multiple children, And using this, you can learn how to define the relationships based on what your interest is when you pull the metadata out of your Tableau server. So if we would look for like, let's say, calculated field and filter, then you get a whole definition here where everything is explained in how to use that and how to put it together. Again, I'm no expert, but this is where you can find it. Really cool stuff. And then, as I said earlier, you can also generate a hyper file. I think I jumped from A to B. Let me go back to the script. You build the queries. So we built a couple of them, one around filters, one around parameters, and the 2 calculated field ones. Then here is the function that my Agnese defined. It's a quite simple function, and this is where she calls it on the 4 different syntaxes. So that means I want to generate 4 different JSONs that have a different structure that will give me the data I'm looking for. And then, because she wanted to have multiple options, she exported both to JSON, Hyper API, and also CSV files. She first normalized it. So she used that library to normalize it. And then this is how you export them as CSV. Super straightforward. You say to CSV, it's out. This is how simple it is to send something to a hyper file. And then, yeah, together with the second part, to send it to Python. And with this, you can also generate them as JSON. So it's not rocket science. I think each of you, if you research it a little bit, you can most probably figure it out. It's more about building that hierarchy that's, I think, a bit trickier. And that's how you put it together. And for the hyperfile, because that's actually pretty cool, I'm showing you a local one, but you can push this, of course, directly to your server. I just wanted to show it to you here so that you see what the output is. So see, you have the hyperfile and the 3 tables. And I can drop in here the parameters one, and I'm getting all the information that I decided to pull into my syntax. And then, yeah, you can also build relationships. Of course, you would have to find a field that you can join on. So I'm going to choose like a completely random one. That won't work, but it's the same data type, so it will. It's just very random, but the point is to show here that with JSON you wouldn't be able to do this, whereas if you generate it as a hyper extract and before that you normalize the tables, you're able to do this. Whew, done with the API part. Now, the last thing I'm going to show you is an embedding use case, which I think it's a pretty cool one. We've done this project in Georgia and not the Georgia in the US, the one in Asia. It's been quite fun. It was a few years ago. We went there with a tag team. All of us got the stomach flu. I only got it once. I just got it a couple of times. That was not so much fun. However, they're still using Tableau embedded on their website. So this is the National Bank of Georgia. So it's the National Bank, you'll see. Cyrillic, or I don't even know how you call it, but you can change it in English. And what they show here, they have a menu called statistics, and these are public statistics about what the national bank is doing. And for example, okay, we want to know what types of loans our national bank is doing. And this is a dashboard that sits in the website and it's embedded. You see now here this because they want to allow you to do full screen or whatever, but if you choose, you can also hide that. So people would be completely oblivious to the fact that this is Tableau. They would think a developer might have done it in the website directly. So that can be pretty straightforward. And again, you can move to a different category and then still see this. Apply filters, whatever you want. What they did next to this, they also have the interactive statistics, but they did a bit differently. So then here they have a catalog people can go through. And then let's say they would go to the dashboards and then they open a new website. Again, it's not called Tableau, it's called analyticsnbg.gov. So it's very much branded. Again, people know it's like a reliable website to look at. And then they get a Tableau dashboard that's interactive where, yeah, you can filter. And they were very specific about the colors, so don't bash me on that. But and about the graphs and everything, because they're a bank and they wanted really specific things. But the idea is to show here what would be the added benefit of embedding this and how nice it could be for your end clients. Because in the end, embedding can be used in two ways, in my view. It's either to improve your customer's experience and give them more, like, I don't know, I'm an energy supplier and I want people to learn a bit more about their consumption patterns. And I'm building this dashboard. I will embed them in my portal. It might be an app on your phone. It might be a website, so I can see exactly when I'm spending most energy. Or it could be a data monetization tool. Like, I'm a logistics company. I work with many companies. And I want to provide them insights on how the deliveries are going, because they ask me for that. And I can create a portal where I embed these dashboards for them and they can access it and see how business is going. That's pretty much it. I think if you have any questions, Praveen will be here. And I can't answer so many on the API stuff. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. And you can fill the queries like if you have access to it. Yeah. Yeah. Again, I'm no expert, and I think Agnieszka was just dabbling with it. She's very strong in Python, but this was also something she was very excited about. I think everybody, like, their eyes shine when they talk about the Metadata API, because you can pull so much information out of the tool.
It has a handy auto completion.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
Question?
Yes, if anyone has any questions, now is the time. Yeah.
Is there a way to do the next step between the data source, users, and
I guess this is unmuted. Well, that's a tricky question, where the APIs do not surface your licenses as they are right now. Instead, your licenses are usually a fixed number, which you can then use. So if you know you have 100 licenses, 100 explorers, 10 creators, you know the limit, and based on that, you can pull that information. But I do think it's easier to pull that from the repository directly than to pull it from the metadata API. You can pull that from the metadata API. I believe I'll have to check that, but it's easier from the Tableau repository directly. Any other questions? I think there was one question on here which we didn't discuss, which was, is it necessary to have the data management add-on to use the metadata API? If you're doing it by code, no, you do not need the data management add-on. It's available without having the add-on. And also this view that you're looking at, the GraphIQL, that is available as well. You just need to enable a setting on the server if you're using Tableau server. Tableau Online, Tableau Online is a good question. No, is there? Yeah. So Tableau server, you need to enable something on the backend. But if you want to see it in Tableau server, the lineage, the relationships, then you need the data management add-on.
Well, without building